What's up, guys? You're listening to MMA in the Morning on AtlanticMMA.com. Today our guest is Stephan Kesting. Stephan is a renowned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and instructor. He has created a series of best-selling instructional DVDs and two very popular iPhone applications, Grapple Art Sweeps and Grapple Art Submissions. He's also been published in about every notable grappling magazine and runs two great sites named GrappleArts.com and BeginningBJJ.com. How you doing, Stephan?
Oh, pretty good, Jonathan. Did I really do all that stuff? It sounds like a long...
All right, so I guess what I'd like to do for our listeners is go through all the basic grappling positions so you can explain to us what exactly they are.
Well, I really started thinking about this sort of thing when I was trying to teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to people. If you do it long enough, these things, you can take them for granted. It's I'm kind of beginning to get back into chess now, for example, after 20 or 30-year hiatus from chess. And I find that I have basically no idea how to start a game or what I should be doing in the middle of a game other than take the opponent's pieces. I don't have an idea of the bigger strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, at the end, you're trying to checkmate your opponent. That's fairly clear. But when people start Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's kind of the same way. There's just legs and arms and head, your head, your opponent's head, and if you're talking with a gi, there's lapels, everything's flying all over the place, and people get easily confused, and they don't have any kind of idea about the big picture and sort of what the positional goals should be. So that's why you can break down Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu more or less into about 6 positions, and some of those have sub positions, but the 6 positions that I like to think about are the guard, the side mount, the knee mount, the full mount, the rear mount, and the turtle. And really, if you take a look at most matches or most high-level competition, the guys are spending about 90% of the time in one of those 6 positions. Now, I think it's useful to break down the guard into 3 other positions just because it plays such an important role in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and grappling. So one sort of course level that you can break it down into is closed guard, open guard, and half guard.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it this way, you can have obviously the ultimate goal of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or submission grappling is to submit your opponent. And you can do that from any of those positions. But it's generally easier the more dominant you become on your opponent. And when you mix striking into the mix, either, say, in a self-defense situation or in an MMA situation, then the positions also begin to matter because it's a lot easier to hit from a dominant position than a less dominant position. So you can sort of think of it as a hierarchy, which is, I think, what you asked me.
Right.
The guard, more or less, is a neutral position. If you're talking an MMA context or a striking context, the person on top does have an advantage. How much of an advantage depends on his skill and his opponent's skill. But if you're on the bottom, it's about as close to neutral as you can get. And if you're just doing straight grappling, then it's pretty much a neutral position. And most of the rules reflect that. If you want to get a little bit more dominant than that, then I think that the turtle position would be the next step, right? Say I'm in your guard, and I'm starting to pass your guard, but to avoid me passing your guard, you flip over and go to turtle or all fours, or some people call it fetal position. Then I've improved my position relative to you because being on top of your turtle is more dominant than being in your guard.
Mm-hmm.
But even more dominant than that, generally speaking, would be side mount. If I manage to pass your guard and pin you in side mount, then I've just gained a little bit or quite a bit more dominance on you. Now your options are becoming more and more limited. There are 1 or 2 freak submissions that you can get on me. You might be able to put a Kimura on me from the bottom, but it's a lot easier for me to put a Kimura on you from the top of side mount.
Right.
then, and this all gets reflected in the sort of basic rule structure and point structure of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is why those rules are pretty good for developing a fairly combative mindset in the people, even if they're not striking while doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The advantages in the point structure sort of reflects what would happen if there was striking. So next we've gone guard, we've gone turtle, we've gone side mount. The next one is knee mount. If I manage to get my knee on your belly, then not only are you carrying a lot of my weight, and I've got a lot of submission options, but also if we were punching, now I can really punch quite hard, harder than I can in side mount, for example. Then we're looking at mount and rear mount as the sort of the penultimate position and the ultimate position in terms of dominating your opponent. If you get rear mounted on me, there's very, very little I can do to you unless you really make a big mistake to submit you or to strike you.
Mm-hmm.
So the hierarchy, generally speaking, would be guard, turtle, side mount, knee mount, mount, and rear mount.